Was made for this. I was made for this.
Okay, welcome to another series of micro-topic podcasts. I'm Grant Hedefin, and what we do in this series is we talk about one topic only, and we invite a guest on. And so today we're going to be talking about AIS, and I have got Ray McCormick on the line. He is a Nordic Air instructor, but one of his favorite things to do is do boat deliveries, and he takes them from the West Coast across to Hawaii and back again. So Ray, welcome to the show. We're going to talk about AIS today.
Yes, thank you, Grant. I really appreciate you putting these together, and love to share my knowledge and passion. So today's topic is using AIS. AIS is Automatic Identification System technology. It basically rides on VHF technology, so it's a little bit limited in its range, let's say, for transponders and receiving, actually. First off, I carry a Vesper 8000 in my delivery business. Have my own power supply antennas, and I program it with my laptop. And then the MMSI number that goes into that AIS unit is then programmed into my VHF radio. And it wirelessly connects to my delivery laptop, providing AIS signatures onto my Coastal Explorer. Basically, the MMSI number is usually issued by the FCC. I think Boat US does it also. But you're supposed to get it from the FCC if you want to go international, I think. The MMSI number is used for DSC, which is direct service calling on your VHF. And that's an emergency broadcast system.
Right, so slow down there. So I'm just going to go back over what I heard. So MMSI number, that is associated to a boat, and each boat has an MMSI number, right?
That is correct. It's associated to a boat. That is correct.
And so what you do is you take your equipment on the boat that you're doing a delivery on, you program in that boat MMSI into your system, and then off you go. And so it's now we can track and see where we are using AIS, and the AIS signal carries on the DSC frequency with VHF. So that's how the signal goes out. I think that's exactly what you just said, right? I'm just pulling it down into a little.
Well, it's important to clarify. It's important to clarify that the MMSI number is associated with me as a delivery captain. Oh. So I have it programmed into my radio, and I have it programmed into my transponder. You can't change the MMSI number once it's been done.
Oh, so you're a vessel? You're a boat, I guess?
I'm a boat, yeah. I'm a boat that goes onto other boats. That's correct.
Captains have their own MMSI number. How about that? Oh, that's cool. You got it memorized by heart?
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. Like the PLB, right? The PLB is not associated with a boat. It's associated with a person.
Right.
So you can do the same thing with an MMSI number. That's correct.
That's cool. Very cool. All right, I learned something. Let's carry on.
Yeah. There's three types of AIS transponders. There's a Class A, a Class B, and a Class C. Class A is transponder and receiver both. So it's important to define what those are. A receiver is something that only receives a transponder signal. A transponder is something that transponds an AIS signal out away from you. Okay, so there are devices that are both receivers and transponders. There's devices that are just receivers. Okay, the Class A is a transponder and a receiver. It's mainly used on commercial vessels, has the capability of gathering AIS data from around it and publishing up to satellites that then gets populated to databases out on the internet. That solution, the Class A solution, uses both VHF and GPS technology. The GPS is used to get the lat and lon for the AIS transponder, and the VHF is used for receiving and transponding AIS signature information. Class B is a transponder and a receiver. It's used on non-commercial vessels. It also uses VHF and GPS antenna. That's what my Vesper 8000 is. It's the Class B device. Class C is receive only. Lots of VHF radios do this now, and then they share that feed. They can share that feed to navigation devices through things like NEMA 2000, Ray Marine Sea Talk, and then NEMA 2000.
Right, so just putting that together into layman's terms, so like big commercial tankers, They will push out signal about who they are using VHF signal, which goes, probably 20, 30 miles, but also they push that up to a satellite. And so you can go on the internet and find out where some commercial vessels are, right? Is that sort
That's
of
correct. Yeah,
summary?
Class A is usually installed based on Coast Guard regulations. CFRs is what they're called,
Okay.
Code for Federal Regulations. Okay, so the Coast Guard defines that, tugs, ships, any commercial boat, any boat with a COI, Certificate of Inspection, of a certain tonnage has to carry an AIS transponder Class A.
All right. And then so Class B, that's more for recreational vessels, and that sends out a signal through VHF to tell everybody, here I am, who I am, where I'm going, all that kind of stuff, but it also receives signals from other boats. And so you can see big tanker traffic, and you can see other recreational vessels as well on your chart plotter. And then
yes, that's correct. Yeah. So transponder, like when I go in and I change it with my laptop, right? I can change the vessel name, I can change the antenna location, the size of the vessel, and also the classification of the vessel.
Right.
And the call sign. I can change the call sign.
Right.
The classification of the vessel is whether she's a motor vessel versus sail vessel versus commercial. I think there's recreation or research and fishing, and then there's even military on some of the transponders.
Right. Okay. And then Class C, that's just receiving. So you're looking at your chart plotter, and you can see other vessels' information, where they are, and it'll plot them on the chart plotter, but they can't see you because you're not transponding out your vessel information.
That's
right?
correct.
And then, as you said, it all connects into all of your chart plotters and everything on board through C-Talks and things like that, so that...
if it's wired up, right? If it's installed and wired properly,
right.
You can receive signals from your VHF radio onto your chart plotter. That is
right.
correct.
And then what you've done is you've hooked it all up to your laptop, so that you can pull up your laptop and you can see all the AIS information from other vessels right on your laptop as well.
Yeah, that's why I bought the Vesper 8000, is because it does a wireless network.
Perfect.
Okay, so...
All right, good.
So my laptop, when it's on board, I can just connect to the wireless network that's being broadcast by the Vesper 8000, and then I get the AIS signatures on my Coastal Explorer.
Oh, wow. That's super cool. All right, cool. Thanks. Moving on.
Okay, so let's talk about base stations versus Class A. Okay, so I had already mentioned Class A that basically gathers AIS signatures around it and publishes them up to the internet. So that's like a commercial ship. So like when we do our Hawaii deliveries, we'll purposely sail within 20 miles of a ship just so our transponder signal will pop up basically onto Vessel Finder or Marine Traffic. Those are websites, okay, that then use that database information. That's typically something that we'll do just because it's one extra layer of we're leaving a breadcrumb, right, of where the boat is and, things like that.
That's very clever.
So the base stations are on land, okay? And they'll pick up AIS signatures, and they also publish it to the internet, so it populates into the Marine Traffic and Vessel Finder sites.
Right. Okay. So those they'll take any signal from any vessel that they've got that they can pull up. So maybe let's say within 30 miles with VHF. So they'll pull that and then say, okay, we found this vessel. We know all this information about this vessel now, and the base stations pop it right onto the internet. Right. That's what you're just saying.
Yeah, base stations in Class A. That's how AIS signatures end up getting into the websites and the apps. That is correct.
Right. Oh, that's cool. So you can sail close to a big commercial ship, and it will push your information up to the satellite.
That is correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
All right. So let's see. Having a transponder is a good safety measure. It creates a bubble around your boat with a radius of between 17 to 20, 25 miles. That's why I carry a Vesper in my delivery business. It's saved our bacon in Wilmington, which is LA, a very commercial, very heavily used commercial area, as well as the Columbia River and the Straits of Juan Fuca and the Sound, and then Canada and Alaska. Yeah, all the ferries and everything. So yeah, big fan of being seen.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, and so like, you you can tell somebody, okay, well, the float plane across to Hawaii, so, and then you go missing, and everybody's like, right, well, I don't know, where do we start? Okay, well, straight line between here and Hawaii is a good place to start. But if they've known that you passed by this commercial vessel and you were here at this time 6 hours ago, okay, we can start our search from there. So, yeah, big fan of being.
I mean, on my Hawaii deliveries, I bring an Iridium Go. So, that has tracking capability built into it. You know, we set up email addresses and it sends out, every time it fires up, it'll send out our location basically to those people. So
right, and those people are just float pan people like friends and family, right?
I think the Iridium Go has a limit of 5. So, we pick and choose who gets those spots.
Right.
Usually an owner would be on there for sure.
All right. Is there anything like an Iridium Go that will post that up to the internet at all, or that's just not out there yet?
Garmin makes some stuff. The InReach stuff, yeah. So that'll put breadcrumbs down basically, and we've had those on board because a lot of the boats I deliver from Hawaii are race boats usually. So they'll have the Garmin InReach stuff.
Right. Okay. We can talk about that maybe another podcast. Okay. All right. Moving on with AIS then.
Yeah. So having AIS signatures on navigation devices gives you the capability of CPA and TPA, as well as incorporating alarms, getting speed, course, and vessel name information. Right.
So what's CPA?
CPA is closest point of approach.
All right. So let's talk about that. So closest point of approach. So here's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but so there's a boat, way up there and kind of heading towards you, and you'd like to know, well, that's on a collision course or not, or how close are we going to get? So CPA is the AIS system has enough information about that boat and where it's traveling and what direction, and your boat, and so it will project the closest point of approach, the closest point that you will be together will be, say, half a mile, and then TCPA is it will happen in 10 minutes and 35 seconds, right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, the TCPA is the time of the CPA.
Right. Okay. All right. Good. So that's amazing technology because, if you don't have this, you're looking at a boat and you're going, well, I don't know, should I turn left? Should I turn right? How am I going to get away from this? Are they going a lot faster or slower? I don't know. But you just look at your AIS and there it is. It just gives you that information. I mean, that's
yeah, that is correct. And I have an example of that. I took, it was last week, I think, I took out a 130-foot tug out of Seattle with the Coast Guard on board. And we had tugs that were overtaking us. And I was like, hey, I need to tell these guys what my intention is. And I'm looking all over the boat, and I'm like, I have no way to get the vessel information. There's a Class A AIS transponder on the boat, but it's not wired into the chart plotter.
What?
And so I'm like, oh gosh, we need to fix this for the delivery of this boat. And so I told the owner, I was like, hey, I'm gonna have to bring my transponder and put it in silent mode, and so at least I can get AIS signatures on my laptop. If you have a VHF antenna that's 6 feet off the water, theoretically you have a range of about 17 miles, and that's because of the curvature of the Earth. Right. Okay, but there's other things that affect VHF, like solar flares, weather, fog, sea state, geography. So yeah, VHF is, it is what it is, and it's a valuable tool, but sometimes you can get good range, sometimes you can't get good range. Right. So if you're transponding a bubble around your boat in open water and, your VHF is working okay, which most of the time it does, but you just got to remember that if you're in fog or stormy conditions, and yeah, we've seen that where we've had weather, reduced visibility, and the AIS signatures wouldn't show up until about 5 miles away.
What do we got next?
Okay. So good to train your crew on how to get the vessel name of an AIS signature and then contact a vessel for crossing situations on the VHF. So we do this on the first day. And, when we get crossing traffic, I'll teach my crew how to pull up the AIS signature, get their vessel name, look at the CPA and the TCPA, and then hail them on the radio and negotiate on a crossing situation, right, with a confirmation. Right. Yeah, it's important to note that if you churn the boat, it should be a gross churn and not a fine churn. That's defined in the Coast Guard regulations. So, for instance, don't do 2 and 3 degree turns. Do 10 and 15 degree turns.
Right. So you look on your AIS on the chart plotter, and it shows a boat, big commercial boat, say, coming at you. They're going to pass on your port side, probably, and so you hail them and say, whatever the name is, and do a request to pass on port side. Don't change it. That would be silly. But at least they know and you know that everything's going according to plan, and the AIS has projected it, and no surprises for anybody, right?
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good. And then if you are on a collision course, what you just said is, make a change, but don't make a change so it's just a little bit, like, get the hell out of the way, but so they can see that you have made the change to your track, right?
Yeah, it's right. It's all correlation, right? So not only should your radar show a change, but your AIS should show a change. And then visually, if you look at a boat, do you see her bow stem, or do you see the side of her boat and the lights, right? So if you see red and green, you should hopefully only see red or green at some point in that negotiation.
Yeah, not red and green for a long time. That's a bad idea. That means you're going right at the boat, or they're coming right at you.
Okay, so let's talk about AIS PLBs, okay? So there are vendors that are making little AIS transponders that you can put on your life jacket or your immersion suit, okay? They also make EPIRB versions of these. Those are called EPIRB PLBs. Basically, the AIS one, if it's properly registered and set up, is that when you fall in the water, it would activate, and so then it shows a signature, an AIS signature on your boat, and it could even throw an alarm, right, and automatically do an MOB. And so that's, one of the things, the selling points of these things.
And the chart plotter,
just keep in mind, it's still based on VHF technology, right? So, if your boat is traveling 7 knots, 3 hours, and you'd be outside the bubble.
Right.
The EPIRB version of that is the same form factor. It's something that you put on your John, on your life jacket or your immersion suit, and that would basically do an EPIRB signal. In fact, the only difference between a PLB and a true EPIRB, the only difference between those two devices is the battery length. Okay, the amount of time that the battery will survive.
Does a EPIRB? I thought the definition of that is it actually goes up to a satellite.
Yeah, it goes to a satellite, and then it goes to emergency services, right? So it's the same as an EPIRB. The PLB is the same as an EPIRB. It's a 406 megahertz.
Does a PLB go up to a satellite?
Yes. An EPIRB PLB goes to a satellite. An AIS PLB only does an AIS transponder signal.
Right. Okay, so there's the distinction, is an AIS PLB, personal locator beacon, will go and send a signal to your boat and the chart plotter, and then put the man overboard, on the chart plotter so you can plot back to them. A PLB EPIRB will go up to a satellite and set emergency services as an alert, right?
Yeah, right. So, the use case is, if you have several people on a boat, probably the AIS PLB is the choice one, right? Particularly if you have the alarms set up on the chart plotter and that kind of stuff. So if someone falls overboard, an alarm goes off, it does an MOB, right? You're instantly in a man overboard situation with the information that you need, basically. Whereas the EPIRB PLB might be for like a solo sailor, right, who falls off the boat,
right.
And maybe he gets saved, or at least they recover his body.
His shark-bitten body. So
I carry an EPIRB PLB in my delivery business, right? And I do a float plan, and so the checksum for that EPIRB PLB is on my float plan, so that if my EPIRB PLB goes off for some reason, whether I'm sitting in a raft or I'm in, on the boat or I'm in an immersion suit, my wife is the first person who will get contacted, and she has a copy of the float plan. So she can talk to the Coast Guard right there. She can say, yes, my husband is on a delivery, and I'll email you the float plan, and they'll see that, and they'll put an asset in the air pretty quickly.
Right, that's nice to know. We got to keep you around, Ray, so that you can be teaching more and doing some more podcasts. We can't have you falling overboard and getting lost.
Yeah, I'd love to. I got a ton of information to share. I don't know everything, but I know a lot.
Yeah, well, you've done it, right? So that's it. You're not just spouting a theory out. You've actually out there doing it. Okay. Any more points on the board, or shall we wrap it up?
One last bullet, just a quick one, and that is almost all offshore platforms like oil rigs and some navigation marks have AIS transponders. They even do what are called virtual AIS transponders. And so in the case of that, it's like Cape Flattery, which is the very northwest tip of the state of Washington where the Straits of Juan de Fuca is. There's an actual virtual mark, and that's a transponder that's on the shore close to it that's transponding with a Latin lawn representative of where that mark is.
That's super cool technology. Wow.
Yeah.
Right. So you're sailing out there and you're going to see that, you're going to see something there, or the vessel or whatever it is, but it's not there. And it's just a warning that this is a navigational hazard, right?
Correct. Yeah. And,
Wow.
And that's posted in the notice to mariners as a permanent. So anytime they do that, they'll put that in the notice to mariners, okay, as a permanent addition to the notice to mariners. Because you can imagine if you're sailing on the Pacific and you're rolling into the Straits and you don't know that there's no mark there,
Right.
you may be getting the transponder, you may be seeing it on your chart, but then you got no visual. And so you're scratching your head going, crap, where are we? Where are we? Right? I don't want to hit this thing.
It's a virtual one. That is amazing technology.
That's why it's important to look at the notice to mariners and the coast pilots, right?
Right. Okay, well, I learned a ton. I'm sure everybody did that were listening to this learned a ton as well. We'll do some more podcasts. Ray, thank you so much for being on here, and we'll see you on another micro topic podcast that we do with you. Thanks.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you for having me on, Grant.
All right.
Have a good day.
Yep. Cheers. Bye.